Hello. Okay, this is my um, senior enrichment, and this is my code. Um, I'll go over my web page real quick. Uh, so this is the home page. So what the home page does is it renders the first four campuses. There are more than four because if I visit the campuses, it does all the campuses. But yeah, the home page just renders four. And then, so this is a nav bar that links to home, which we're currently at, and then each one of these campuses are just dummy. Um, well, they're not dummy, but they just link to the root directory, which is the home. Now, in the campus, I made each one of these components link to the individual campus, and at the bottom, I have the form, which is tucked away. Um, so basically, when I click here, this campus has no students to show, um, but uh, I have two buttons here. A form, which lets me update it. So I could just make a quick update. Updated, 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 updated. Then I can make changes, and then it'll reflect. Um, Down here, I have a thing to associate students. Um, so I have an on-change handler, but um, it doesn't work. Uh, so basically, you know, I set it to a student and it should associate that student, but it doesn't happen. Oh wait, actually, it does work. Okay, I'm just kidding. So it does work, and I guess I just had to refresh it. Okay, so yeah, so those are the two buttons. Then I'll show you that the build works too. And then I could build it, and then of course it ruins here's the build campus button. So if I build another one, add, 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 and I build it, it's there. And then now, everything's back in place. So there's that. I did forget to implement the destroy, uh, but I have it for students, so I can show you that in a sec. So let's go to students. So students are here. I actually should have put this button on the bottom so it doesn't blow up like this. But when I click it, it'll render a form, and then yeah, pop-ins. Oh, I do have some validation here. So if I did not an email, it'd be like that, you know. Um, so basically, they want something in the email to be email, yeah. And then we should see Mary 12 and destroy update. So this whole thing is not a link, but the update examine will allow me to update and examine the individual student component. Here's the destroy. Unfortunately, I have to refresh, and then Mary's gone. Um, Destroy SDFDS, and I refresh, and that one's gone. Now let's examine one. My name is Jack. I am currently attending Updated University. So I can update that. Um, Change it to hello. Add that, and then 2.3. Update me. I think, yeah. So I had to refresh it too. Um, uh, yeah. So usually it refreshes on its own, but I think all my student routes are broken for some reason. And then I can remove, and of course I have to refresh it, of course. But uh, that's just for students though, because these guys There's no students to show. Okay, so I think that's all the um, web page stuff. So I could show my code. Let's start with the front end. Um, so there are campus components and student components, but everything in the root is wrapped in a router, and basically, basically, first it always renders a nav bar, then there's a couple routes, and then the exact path is the landing component, and the landing component, just maps through the first four um, campuses, yeah. And then the nav bar at the top, you know, the the nav link to home, nav link to campuses, nav link to students, and then I could show you those. Everything is in React Redux. So here's my store. There's a create store with root reducer, apply middleware, thunk, and logging middleware. And the reducers take in the index.js, campuses, action types, fetch, thunks. Here's the reducer. And this is individual student, which I actually don't use. So I'm only actually using students and campuses. Yeah. Student has a student landing page, which renders all students, an update form, which lives inside the individual student, and the student form, which lives inside the student list form. But basically, I could show you how I render it. I have a local state, even though I'm using a store, that show is false, and when a button is clicked, it sets state, uh, and I bang this boolean here, and then when this that state show is truthy, it and gates and shows the student form, and then that's the same logic in campus and individual student. Yep, this that show state false, and then bang, and then it shows it. Um, how do the forms work? Well, um, there is a is this a form? This is not a form. Okay, so this is a form, and how does it work? It has a local state, and there's a handle change and a handle submit. The handle change is defined within the component itself because I don't have to access the store for any dispatches. So it sets state of whatever the event target name is. So it'll look for the input value name, and it'll look for that in the local state, and it'll update that with the event target value. So if I was in the name input and I typed in name, it would do the name input and type it in. Yeah. And then the handle submit triggers a dispatch to create student. So create student basically takes an event, prevent default, but it reads the local state, dispatches a create student, and then passes in student, which is cool. Probably the update is a bit more interesting because it was a bit harder, but same thing. It takes the update student action, takes in this.props.id, which is passed in through the parent component student, and then the student, um, where's student is on the local state, so yeah, uh, and it passes all those changes in, which is held here, and the same logic as before. Same with campuses, everything's exactly the same. And then in the back end, just a normal back end, just in it's the app, which was stuff that was given, I think. Um, the database, which has this, I think this is given as well. But okay, so here's the index where everything is required in. So here are how the associations are made, which was a little bit confusing because I only did this at first and I wasn't able to eager load the other way, and then I did both, and then I did on delete cascade hooks true. Oh, I actually didn't test that, so I'm not sure if it works, but the the Models are just models, yeah. Like, if, no nulls, and your GPA has to be between these numbers. Campus, same thing. And I don't have a seed file. Oh, I do have a seed file, but I didn't do anything with it. Yeah, it's like it's not actually a seed file. It doesn't do anything. So yeah, that's it. So I'm missing a couple things, but that is my senior enrichment. Okay.